Thanks for joining us here on TV3, everybody, for another edition of the Spartan Sports Report. Sam and I are happy to have with us the Director of Athletics at CHS, Brent Duncan.
Happy to be back. It's been a while.
It's basketball time.
Well, we think it's basketball and wrestling and swimming and gymnastics, and I don't think I missed anything.
Are the girls still scheduled to play basketball this week?
Yeah, they're all back at, well, they'll either be back at school today or be back at school tomorrow, depending on which part of the alphabet you're in.
Right.
But we're on schedule to play Friday night at Centerville, so they'll finally get to open up their season. It's been a long time coming since the scrimmage at Union County, but
so there's no problem with practices for the girls. They'll have the required 10.
yeah, they already had their 10 in. So,
Okay.
and truly, by the way the rule is written, since they've not been practicing, they wouldn't have to make up any since they've already had their 10 in. But we'll have 4 more practices in before we play on Friday.
Okay.
So, for health and safety purposes, it's probably good to have those 4 practices in.
Home opener on Saturday?
With the Anderson Indians, as of currently, with
As of
we
now.
talked to Steve this morning, and we were getting all of our vouchers in line. So, what they're going to show us and what we're going to put out, and so as of today, we're good for Friday and Saturday, but we still got Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Friday to get through.
A little bit softer opening with Centerville than what we were originally scheduled to open.
Yeah,
with.
I mean, you talk about opening up with New Pal, then go to the shootout and play Decatur Central and Ritter, and then turn around and play Mount Vernon, and a little bit of a different animal. So hopefully we'll get off to a good start over at Centerville. But unfortunately for them, they don't have a JV team right now, so they don't have enough practices in. So Friday night's game is a 6 o'clock start for the varsity, and it's varsity only. And our kids are only allowed 2 tickets per participant, so we're only going to take probably 12 girls on the team and the coaches. So we might have 25 people in the gym on our side, and they may have 50 if they're lucky. So,
What about Spartan Bowl Saturday?
Spartan Bowl, currently it is 2 tickets per participant only, no general sales. So, subject to change depending on what the county does in Collar.
Yes.
Don't know that till at least Wednesday. So then we'll play it by ear, and we'll put information out as soon as we can get it. So
You said participants. What does that include?
I think it's kind of up to each other. We're going to count our participants as the basketball team, the cheerleaders, the Spartanettes, and half of the band is coming.
Okay.
So, and they'll each get two vouchers for their parents, is what we'd like to have in.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll go from there. So,
Universities included in that?
yeah, right now us and Anderson both have JV and varsity. So, knock on wood, it'll stay that way come Saturday. So,
Right now, Centerville is 0-3. They have been able to play their 3 games. They have a game Wednesday before they welcome the Lady Spartans. Anderson is 1-3. This team has been averaging 70 points.
Anderson, they like to get up and
70
down
points a game.
They do like to get up and down the floor for the last few years if you've come and watched them. So.
They like to shoot.
Like to shoot and like to press. Sure, he hasn't changed his style since the last time we played him. Remember last year we played him up there in the old Anderson Highland High School, and it was about as bright as this room that we're talking into on the other side of the lights. It was dingy and dark, and half the light bulbs were out. So,
Well, they haven't used that for a high school gym.
no,
very
it's been a
much,
while. It's been a middle school. I would hardly think you want to play your middle school games in that gym. It was so dark. So I've been in some dark gyms, but none where half the light bulbs were probably either out or turned off. I wasn't sure which. So
Is that the athletics director's job to?
I have to ask Steve when I see him if he's in charge of changing the light bulbs.
You do that, don't you?
I just use the long ladder and get to the top of there. I call in help.
Should be a good weekend for the Spartans, that we can play if everything stays as is today and everybody stays healthy and nothing drastic happens. Why?
Well, I think all of our kids are anxious and excited.
Sure.
We've been out of the pool and out of the restroom room and out of the gymnastics center for the last week and a half. So I know they're all excited about getting back in today, at least from the ones I've talked to. They're ready to get back at it. And
Sure.
I saw 2 or 3 of the girls' basketball kids back at school after being quarantined for the last 2 weeks. So they're just happy to be out of their basement and back in the building where some of their friends are at. So I've been there. It's always nice when you want to stay home until you have to stay home. Then it's not as nice. But So
Gets kind of boring.
we hope it'll continue to go the right direction as the week continues on, and then we'll hopefully have games on Friday and games on Saturday.
How do you think no fans in the stands will affect the players?
Oh, I'm sure it'll have some type of effect, but I think every kid's different. You think back to if you played and what other kids did. Sometimes you don't notice the fans if you're so tuned into the game.
Sure.
But I'm not saying that atmosphere and that feeling of coming and running out of the tunnel with people sitting in the stands compared to nobody sitting in the stands is going to be a little bit different for sure. But hopefully it'll get better, and as long as our numbers in our county get better and we get out of the red area and adventure into the orange, then we'll have different rules we'll play by.
Yes.
We'll follow what the health department wants us to do. And even though we're in orange, we may be able to open up to hopefully 25% capacity, but that's still subject to to change. And maybe they'll say instead of 2 tickets per person, you get 5 this time. And then, maybe that number won't go straight to 25%, but hopefully it'll be more than what we're getting right now. But
Everyone attending except those in action will be masked?
you have to have a mask to get into the
To get
building,
in, that's
and
important.
hopefully our kids, when they're not in the game, should have their mask on the bench as well as our
Yes.
opponents. And I haven't thought about the people sitting on the table, because they're working and they're talking, they're trying to communicate with each other, keeping score and doing all that stuff. So we'll keep enough space between the scorekeepers and those in the fans. We may block the first few rows of the bleachers off so people can't sit directly behind our kids and behind our scores table. And in a 5,000-seat arena, there's enough space to put upwards of maybe 400 people in that place comfortably without being on top of each other.
I'm thinking even, and first I thought about even us, we could move up to where we used to be.
Back in the old stand, I think,
so that you can spread out your,
it's things we got to think about when we get there. So
won't be as comfortable sitting in those nice chairs, but
we'll see what it looks like. We'll try to do some arrangements with our seats on the floor. Maybe we stagger them so the kids aren't just sitting straight next to each other. And so we'll try to do some things to make sure they have to.
What about pregame activities? We always had Spartan
Still
Warrior come out.
plan on doing that so far.
Lights out. And
That's the plan, unless, I guess if it gets down to just essential people and there's nobody in the stands but the players, I guess it's pointless. But wouldn't be anybody to play the trumpet or play the band or do any of those things. So I do know our boys' scrimmage is Saturday. We still have that.
and that's a change up, right?
We had to change because
team.
Knightstown is not practicing until later. In fact, they're going to find out tomorrow if their school board is going to let them continue, period. So hopefully that'll go well for them and Matt. But I threw out a thing last week, and Hamilton Heights picked this up. So they're going to come over on Saturday and play at 1 o'clock. And that is essential people only. So it'll just be the players and the officials. I might let a newspaper reporter in just to write a story about the game just so they can see. But for the most part, there won't be any fans. Once the team's in and the officials in, we're going to lock the doors and make sure that our kids stay healthy. We'd hate to lose them at a scrimmage a week before we're trying to open up the season. But we need to get some games in. The girls, be nice to have another game, another chance to scrimmage, but they don't get that opportunity since they scrimmaged over, about 2 weeks ago. And now we're back into the season without any practice time, and we'll get 4 days in before we have to play Centerville. So I'm sure Michelle will have them ready to play. So.
Oh, I'm sure she will.
We were open to wrestling on Saturday, and that no longer in effect.
No, we're not wrestling this Saturday, and we're not wrestling the following Saturday because those schools have canceled those. We couldn't go to Lawrence Central because we won't have enough practices in, but
Yes.
we are going to wrestle a week from Tuesday at home. I believe it's a Tuesday with Union County and Knightstown. However, Knightstown can't come, so it'll just be a dual meet between us and Union County at home. Once we get our 10 practices in. So it won't be this week, but it'll be the week after.
Do all sports have the 10 practice requirement?
Yeah, every sport except for girls golf in the fall, and they only have to have 2. So, because the way they think that they should be out playing golf all summer long, so they should already be in shape, and they come right into the season. But that's the only sport that does not have to have 10. Now, you don't have to have 10 if, let's just say I'm a football guy and I go straight from football practice within a week to basketball, then I only have to get 5. But if I sit out longer than a week, then I got to get 10.
And the reason is?
Health and safety, just get you prepared, and so you're not just sitting around the whole time. It's just like our girls being in quarantine. It's really hard to say you've been out 10 days and let's say we had a game tonight, come right back and play a game tonight. I don't know that that's a safe thing to do for the kids. So just health and safety to get them back in shape and make sure they can get them down the court without having any health issues or any physical ailments from not being around and doing things for a while. We hope they've all been out doing something on their own, but who knows? So.
Right. You can't be watching them.
No, they can all go to the park and play if they want to.
Coaches can have contact with them, though?
Yeah, I mean, they could talk to them. They can't be with them during the quarantine time. But, yeah, they had able to communicate through telephone or the Remind apps or whatever they're using to make communication with the girls, yeah.
The boys were scheduled to open the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Tell us some of the changes that have occurred.
Well, that game has been moved to December 23rd because us and Union County will not have 10 practices in by the time Thanksgiving night rolls around. So we had talked about playing on the Friday after Thanksgiving, and we had that worked out. We were working on getting officials, but then Union County got put out. So they can't practice until at least the 18th, so they won't be able to have their 10 practices in. So we found a date, and we're going to play on December 23rd, 2 nights before Christmas. So.
And the times?
6 and 7:30, just like normal.
Okay.
And we play the night before in that the boy-girl doubleheader with Greenfield, and that's been changed. So we'll try to get all that information out because it's based on the people hosting and how many people they can get in the gym at Greenfield. They don't want to do a boy-girl doubleheader on the same night, same time. So they're going to do the girls a little earlier in the afternoon, and the boys will play the same night, just later in the evening. So.
And that's on a Saturday?
That's December 22nd. It's on a Tuesday.
A Tuesday.
Since we're not in school, we're on Christmas break,
okay.
so
Yes.
we can get that done. So it's just all changing. We'll get that out. We'll put it out on our website because the New Pal game's changed and been rescheduled, and the Shenandoah game's been changed and rescheduled. And our first big change is the Mount Vernon game, which was an away game.
Yes.
Now a home game a week from tomorrow night.
That's a good thing.
So, yeah, I think good not to have to travel to Fortville if we don't have to on a Tuesday night. But so Mount Vernon and
Much better environment at the Grand Palace, too.
well, I think we're biased, but
Well, try doing a game from the Mount
you're up in
Vernon
the
gym.
You're up in the left-hand corner
It's
off the balcony.
kind of hard to see.
But so that's a change. So that instead of being a road game, will be a home game a week from tomorrow night against the Lady Marauders of Mount Vernon. So,
The reason for that is?
well, the dates that we had that we could work, or they said they had that could work. We had a game, and the night that we could play them, they had a boys game. So he said, well, we'll come to you then on this night if we can't come to here. And they couldn't host it because they had a boys game on the same night, so they didn't want to have the gym space.
Sure.
So I said, sure, I'll find officials and you can come to here. So they're going to come here.
Well, it's nice they were accommodating.
Yeah, you don't always get that with every school that wants to be that way. So I'm sure Union County would love for us to go over there sometime. They kind of jokingly said, this would be the year. And I said, yeah, we'll find a time to play over here. Keep the tradition alive. So hopefully by December we can get more people in the stands. I don't know what a month and a half is going to bring. So
Sure.
It's a possibility that there could be more changes.
Absolutely.
Big time. I mean, depending on what the other schools do.
Well, you're just one phone call away from getting that. I was on a meeting this morning with a bunch of ADs, and they were talking about what's at the end about good things or bad things of being an AD at this time. And right as we get hung up, I want to say it was the AD at Lafayette Harrison, I believe, but don't quote me on that. Or no, it was maybe Frankfurt or somewhere. But got a word that their head basketball coach tested positive today. So there goes their team for a couple weeks.
Wow.
So you're just one person away from being in the same boat. So that's why it's important to do out in the community what we're doing and trying to keep our kids safe and wear your mask when you're supposed to so that you don't expose our kids or a coach to. You just never know.
Sure.
For school, it's all about the kids. It is about the fans, but it's really about the kids. So it'd be nice for them to be able to have their winter season because I know what it was like for the kids who didn't get their spring season last school year, and they missed out on a lot of things. You can't get back. So hopefully we'll continue in the right direction still.
I'm sure you guys will. I mean, ADs that I've met are good people and will do the best thing just as you will.
Well, I think most of us in the business have the best interest of the kids at
Sure.
heart. And, and people sometimes get upset with you because you don't make a snap decision about sport A or sport B, but you got 18 other sports to go along. You got 20 total, so if you're thinking about 2, you got to think about 20. You can't just narrow down your thoughts to say what works best for this team always, because then it may work for one, but then everybody else is going to want to do something, and then you got 20
Yes.
teams you got to think about. So it comes with the territory, but you got to think about all 20 and not just one program. So even though everybody thinks basketball is king here, there's 19 other sports that are just as important, along with the cheerleaders and the Spartanettes. So
Yes. Yes, they all put in the same amount of practice.
they'll put the practice in. They all need to be recognized, and they all need to have their
Absolutely.
time.
Band too.
Band puts his, with
they put in
Levi,
a lot
and
of time.
of course, we've got all
Absolutely.
kinds of clubs that are doing things. The bowling team's done well so far, and they've been out of practice. And we got an archery club at school, so
Do you
That's
think
what I asked
that bowling, do you think bowling will ever become a recognized sport for the IHSA?
I don't know. There's been a lot of talk.
Yeah.
Part of the problem with bowling is that the best bowling time at the establishments is the winter time for their leagues, and you can't play in a league and play on the high school team simultaneously. So that hurts their business.
It's a moneymaker for the
Oh, absolutely. It hurts their business
bowling
for the bowling.
facilities, bowling alleys. Yeah.
So not many people play in the summertime because it's, you're outside doing lots of other things. Not that they don't go in and play, but I don't think too many leagues would survive
Not
in the
very many.
summertime. So
Do we have an archery team?
now we have a club, yes.
Okay.
Just like bowling's an actual club. It's the bowling team, but it's not a part of the IHSA, so it's a club from the school. So we do have an archery club.
As Sam asked, is there any thought of adding sports to the IHSAA?
Yeah, they've got a committee that looks at emerging sports, depends on what that is. Kentucky has bass fishing. People in Minnesota has hockey.
I was going to
So-
say you want to put some ice hockey in.
They have hockey in Minnesota. I don't know how many people around here would be able to play ice hockey, but I know at least one kid in our community that played ice hockey a few years ago, but played in Hamilton, Ohio. So, and it's just like we talked, not we personally, but at the IHSA, not too many high school owns a bowling alley to just stick in your bowling team. So you got to work with the
Yes.
owners of the bowling alley.
Right.
So
And some communities don't even have bowling alleys anymore. I
no,
mean,
correct.
it's
But
not
bowling
as,
has probably got the most schools that have active involvement by the kids throughout
as
the
far as
state.
clubs.
Yeah, there's been some push for boys volleyball, lacrosse, girls wrestling. Lacrosse, not everybody has a lacrosse field or a field that can put lacrosse on. But I don't know, there's been talk about 7-man and 8-man football, so who knows?
Well, when would you work that in?
Well, it's for some of those schools who don't have 11-man.
I see.
You couldn't have both 7-man, 8-man, or 11-man. You'd have to have either or. So, because some of those big schools that have 11-man would say, "Oh, I can't play on the 11-man team, but I can sure come over here and play on the 8-man team." So, yeah, it had to be either or. But there's been some talk about all kinds. Esports. A lot of states have esports because they have to have clubs and activities. It's the Athletic and Activity Association, where Indiana is just the Athletic Association. So, they have spell bowls and everything else, part of some states. So.
What about the color guard? Is that something new at CHS?
No, we've had the color guard for a while. She kind of went away for a little bit, and then Grace, I won't get Grace's last name, but Grace has done a good job about bringing them back, and they're going to try to perform a couple times through the year. And
Good.
you watch the last few years at football, they've gotten larger in numbers, and she does a good job with them. So we've been working on getting her gym time to get some practices in. So.
Well, things, even with the problems, are looking up for the sports. We can get these schedules straightened out, and
We'll put some out, so get on the ConnersvilleAthletics.com site or join up for Event Link Community, and you can get up-to-date stuff.
right
So,
now it's best to pencil in the schedules and stay away from the ink pen.
currently, don't put it in stone yet because it just keeps changing, but hopefully it'll continue. We're talking about freshman girls C-team basketball, and there's a few of them, so we're trying to get them some games, and we got 8 girls or 10 girls that are probably going to be freshmen to C-team players in the basketball program, which we haven't had for a while, which is good. And
Yes, that's excellent.
it's just trying to find other schools
that have
that.
freshmen.
We've been in the same boat. And some schools, like we've been in the past, can't play the JV game on the same night they had a freshman game. So you got to be careful what night you're trying to schedule on, because you might have to share a few girls here and there. So.
And we'll have a freshman basketball boys team.
Yeah, the Greensburg game for them has been postponed. We're working on the date because we won't have our 10 practices in. So they're not going to play next week. And then wrestling starts back up, and swimming has been going, but now the boys can start since they didn't get any practices in. And gymnastics has got a parent meeting tonight at 6 at the center, and They were supposed to start practice last week, so they'll get to go in tonight and work a little bit. And they don't have their first meet until January, so they got plenty of time. So.
But they will have a preview night sometime.
In December, there will be a preview night.
Yes.
As long as everything is still going the right direction.
Gymnastics and the freshman basketball are all at the CHS gym.
No, the only thing in the high school gym will be gymnastics and wrestling. Freshman boys and freshman girls will play in the field house.
Okay.
So with the new floor, and we'll put everybody over there instead of in the gym. So we'll just keep the gymnastics and the wrestling in there just because of the equipment.
Yes.
You know, it's hard to move the gymnastics equipment and the wrestling mats. So it's easier just to pull them up from the bottom of the steps and put them out in the high school gym than to lug them across outside in the snow and stuff. So, but those are the two sports that'll be, besides swimming, you know, obviously is over there
Sure.
on that side too. So swimming and gymnastics and wrestling will be in the old athletic hallway, and boys freshman and girls freshman basketball will be in the field house. So
The middle school basketball is on schedule because they're still in normal operation, aren't they?
oh no, they've moved quite a few games already.
have they?
So because of they've been out with us as well, so they haven't started practicing yet either. So they had just got through their tryouts, but they don't have their 10 days in. So Mr. Liggett has had to move and change a few of those games as well. So again, go to the event link community side, and you can sign up for both the high school and the middle school, and you can pick the sports and the calendars you want to look at to stay up to date because it updates itself overnight. So
I like that event link. That,
if we can get everybody to do it, it does a lot of things with it. Eventually, you can message people, and we can send out emails and possibly do some digital ticketing. As Brandon Smith, the former Connersville grad, is in charge of that. So, in case you didn't know that,
I didn't know that.
but lives in Lafayette, and they're toying with some digital ticketing just so we can sell tickets and dictate who gets them a little bit easier and keep track of them. Just a matter of getting everybody acclimated that there might be digital ticketing.
So would you have to have a reader for that so they can read it off their phone?
Yeah,
or-
we have to have a reader or possibly an old iPad that can scan it. And as long as you have Wi-Fi available, you can download the information. But, you know, there's a little additional charge as well, so to buy a ticket. So, because we'll get our typical gate money and then they'll get a processing or a handling fee. So, but a lot of schools do that. It's just easier, less traffic with money. It's hard. You can't scan the same ticket twice because it bings on you. So you can't pass your ticket around and try to get somebody else in the door or any of those things. But
Takes all the
Yeah.
fun away then.
well, you know, and some of it's just changing the mentality of, you know, it's always going to be a paper ticket, because I'm not sure in the near future it's always going to be a paper ticket. Just like we've been discussing to get a card reader at the basketball game, so not everybody has cash anymore. So they all want to swipe with their card. So at some point in time, we're
But
going to
there's
have
a cost for that.
There's a
for
cost
you.
for that. No, that won't be for me.
Huh? Well, I mean,
For them
for
using
them,
it, correct.
yeah,
There'll
right?
be a,
Because you.
because that company adds an add-on fee for the processing handling fee, and then we'll still get our normal gate money.
Won't
and then
be
there'll
nearly like going to a concert though, at where they Ticketmaster or whatever puts those
Oh, no.
exorbitant
No,
fees
they're not
on.
that. I think the most I've heard is $1. So for each ticket you would purchase, and some are 50 cents and some are 75. So it just depends on the company and which one is the key is finding the one that's the easiest to train people to use. You know, we're not getting any younger, and us older folks don't always like to change the way we've done things for
Really?
a long period of time. Well, some of us anyway. But it's going to be there eventually. It's just a matter of time. So.
Well, hopefully things will change for the better and fans will be able to come to the gymnasiums and watch the games, but right now it's not going to happen.
No, right now at least we're getting the parents of the kids in,
Yes.
and they can see them live, you know, and you feel bad for the seniors sometimes because they're not really getting the full-hearted experience that many of them have had. And, you know, I've heard some complaints from some of the younger ones, but you have to think you got 2 or 3 more years left depending on what grade you're in, and the seniors, it's their last go-around. So, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a swimmer, a gymnast, a wrestler, a basketball player, whatever. You know, it's nice to have those people in there to watch you, or your friends who come
Sure.
and see you. But it's very important that the kids have a season, but it's also important that their parents get to watch them do something. And, you know, we're going to try to stream as many things live from the bowl as we can. It's not quite as easy to stream from the swimming pool. And we'll figure out if we can do anything with wrestling, and maybe we'll let people show it on Facebook Live or something, just through an iPad that's sitting in there that can stream it out so people can watch it. So we're working on some things. Just
there are multiple ways that you can get the game.
Listen to it on the radio. You can watch it on Channel 3 at home if they're broadcasting it. So.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So, but
Dave and I will do our best to get them all. But
and I'm sure there's always somebody in there with their phone and the Facebook live streaming going. I mean,
oh yes, there are.
You can't police that. So I'm sure somebody's got it out there. I know we were sitting at Mount Vernon in the 4 overtime game, and I was getting messages from my buddies who were watching on somebody in the crowd that was streaming it live from our side. I think I finally figured out who it was, but can't stop them. So
no, people want to know, and sports is important.
Well, I think it is. I think it's a good avenue for kids to vent and be a part of school and be a part of things. And it's just not a job, whether it's sports or clubs or the play or the choir or the band or whatever it is. It's much easier for them to be at school if they're involved in an activity and not just coming to school and going home. So,
switch gears here a little bit. Heard something interesting today on the radio about possibility that, the NCAA was in talks with the city of Indianapolis and the state about holding all of the NCAA tournament in Indianapolis. But then there was discussion about the IHSAA uses Bankers Life Fieldhouse one of those weekends. Well, I came up with an idea that
Spartan Bowl's available.
Well, Spartan Bowl's available, but if you want to put it in big venues, you could put like 1A and 4A at Newcastle and 2A and 3A at Seymour. But
I got an email from Paul today, the commissioner, and gave the board a heads up that was possibly in the makings, that Indianapolis was being talked to host every round of the NCAA, from the opening round to the play-in games to the whole kit and caboodle. And we had some previous talks about what would we do if that would happen at different places. But, we play softball at Purdue. And IU's name got thrown out where we used to play basketball. A couple state finals have been at IU. So I think they got some ideas in case that happens. So it may not
because
be
the
there.
NCAA would be looking for additional places with full-size floors.
Correct.
As well. I mean,
you can't play everything in Bankers Life and get it all done.
and of course Lucas Oil, Bankers Life, Coliseum,
But Hinkle, whether the Butler would let him in,
probably. I mean,
the old Pacers floor is up somewhere in downtown city. It's got a name. I don't know where it's at. Old Market Square Arena is in another building downtown. So they got quite a few floors in there that they could accommodate. Maybe not as many fans, but they could at least accommodate the teams.
Well, there probably aren't going to be a lot of fans.
No, I got a feeling there probably won't be hardly any. So I think Butler came out and said max they were going to have all year long was 25% just a couple days ago. So if they get to have them, but that's the maximum they will ever have. So it's not unique to the high school sports; it's everywhere.
Right.
So you watch the NBA, there probably won't be people. They finished their last season in the bubble in Disney with no fans in the crowd and virtual fans on the screen if it was your home game.
So once again this weekend, the Spartans girls hopefully will play at Centerville, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock on Friday.
And welcome the Anderson Lady Indians to Spartan Bowl Saturday night for 6 and 7:30 games.
Currently, and then the boys will have a closed scrimmage with Hamilton Heights on Saturday at 1. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that everything goes well the rest of the week. And
Can anyone come to the scrimmage?
no, that's just the
Closed.
two teams and the officials, and we're going to lock all the doors at that point. So, and once we get all of our people in with vouchers, there's no public sales for the girls' game on Saturday night either at this time. So the girls will hand their 2 vouchers out, hopefully to their parents, and that's the only people that will be in, and it'll be the same for Anderson coming down.
Thanks, Brent, for joining us and bringing us all the news. Some of it good and some of it not so good, but it's all part of the game.
So where we're at this time, as we say, it is what it is.
Thanks, everybody, for watching this edition of the Spartan Sports Report here on TV3. Good night.